Once again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union 2023 Financial Webinar Series. Make sure I got this straight. Today's presentation is brought to you in partnership with Coffee, a nationwide financial coaching and education center focusing on improving the financial health of individuals. As the premier credit union of Prince George's County, we have joined with Coffee to expand our mission of providing quality financial education to our community and lending insight into credit management, home ownership, and money management. Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution serving anyone who lives, works, or worships in Prince George's County, Maryland. We're one of the county's best-kept secrets with competitive loan and savings rates, as well as discounts to national retailers. We currently serve over 17,000 members in the area and welcome you to come and experience the benefits of membership as well. Later on in this presentation, we will display our contact information and answer any specific questions you may have concerning your financial needs. It's not too late to invite your friends and colleagues to join today's webinar. You should have received an email about 30 minutes ago. In that email is a link that you can pass along for them to register and join the call. Please note that today's webinar is live and all phone lines have been muted. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it into the question box on the right-hand side of your menu bar. All questions are private and will be addressed at the end of our discussion. We will also be offering a free 60-minute financial coaching session with the completion of 3 webinars. More information will be given at the end of today's presentation. Lastly, a recording of today's session will be available later today on our website at www.princegeorgescfcu.org/webinar. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Doris Baker.
Thank you so much, Gerald, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the opportunity to join us for our 3rd installment of Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union's 2023 Financial Webinar Series. This one will be definitely a good one. So as we get all comfortable and get ready for today's presentation, I'd like to pose a question to you, a question or two, as a matter of fact. Think about it. Can you save money when you're not sure if you're going to be furloughed or even have a job? Can you save money during a recession? Now, I want to put you at ease because not only is the answer yes to those questions, but it is actually more important to save money when times are bad. And interestingly enough, it doesn't really have to be a chore. So before we start talking about savings, let's first talk about overspending. You see that huge number on your screen. That's what 14.3 trillion, I stumbled over the word trillion dollars looks like. That is a total amount of money every American owes for everything from mortgages to credit cards to student loans to auto loans, personal loans, and more. Yes, it's a huge number, but it's interesting. It's actually been shrinking since the pandemic. Next slide, please. The total debt all of us owe fell by 34, here's another big number, $1 billion earlier this year. Now that sounds like a lot of money. I mean, it's money I definitely would not mind having, but compared to 14.3 trillion, it represents only a drop of about 0.02%. Still, it was the largest decrease since early in 2013. What caused that drop? Good question. Experts say 2 things. First, we're all a little nervous about the future right now, so we've reduced our frivolous spending, at least some of us have, just in the case the very worst happens. Second, lenders are equally as nervous, so they tighten their standards. For example, it's just not quite as easy to get a credit card as it was in the past. That's just one of the ways lenders are tightening up. Next slide, please. Now, some economists, not to be a Debbie Downer here or Doris Downer, some economists predict things will become worse before they get better. I'm just going to make a plug right here and talk about the cost of eggs, but that's neither here nor there. They predict things will get worse before they get better. Next slide, please, Gerald. So I know how hard it is to save money when we're in the best of times. So saving now seems like it could be a little difficult. And there are many techniques that require some sacrifice. But first, let's start with some small ways that really add up and they don't hurt at all. Next slide, please. Let's start with an easy one. Almost every bank and credit card and even some or many municipal utilities offer automatic bill pay. You set up the day when you want a bill to be paid and the amount is automatically deducted from your bank account right then and not a day sooner. What's the advantage besides the worry of paying your bills late or missing a bill? You never pay a late fee again. That's a big deal when you consider 1 in 4 Americans regularly owes late fees because they just simply forget one of those many bills that we all seem to be juggling. That's money that they're giving away instead of saving. Gerald, I'm going to hand it over to you for a comment you may have regarding the credit union.
Yes, thank you, Doris. I was going to mention that a lot of members and a lot of staff here, they take advantage of the automatic bill pay function that we offer here for our online banking and our mobile banking application. If you're interested in checking that out, you can go and visit princegeorgiacfcu.org/on-the-go, and you'll see all of our bill pay and online banking solutions there.
Thanks so much, Gerald. You can move to the next slide, please. Listen, you can also automate your savings just like you automate your bill paying. Now, more than 9 in 10 Americans are paid through direct deposit. I think it's about 92% now. And almost all of them have access to a very neat feature. You can direct some of that money away from your checking account. You can send it to a savings account you don't normally see. Now, this works very well when you get a raise because you can divert that extra money into a savings account and you won't be tempted to spend it because you don't constantly see it in your checking account, right? Of course, these days, more Americans are being furloughed or laid off than getting raises. But this tactic still works, even if you set aside just a few dollars per paycheck. Soon you'll have built up an emergency fund that will give you peace of mind as, uncertain times progress. Now, to set up multiple direct deposit streams, simply talk to your human resources or payroll department, and they can walk you through the easy process. Right here, before I have Gerald to come back in, I want to say to some of us that even if you have it, go to a savings account. You may have to be like me and send it all the way to another financial institution. That's for those of us that just need some extra help. But with that being said, Gerald, if you could take over from this point, please.
Yeah, so just wanted to touch again on Doris's point about direct deposit and stashing money. We also have a function here that allows you to directly deposit any extra cash or maybe your entire paycheck to any of the accounts that you would like. A lot of people use these for their salary or their retirement, their pension, and you could pick and choose how much you want to send to a certain account using our direct deposit function here. It also works for any other deposit capture digital wallet, such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, Zelle. Those things are gaining popularity because of their ease of use. And again, if you wanted to check those functions out, you can go to the same page, which is princegeorgescfcu.org/on-the-go.
Okay, and you can move on to the next slide. Now, we all during the pandemic got used to spending a lot of time, can we say way too much time staring at computer screens. But in this case, using a computer isn't a waste of time, but a great way to save. We're going to start at the beginning with a topic no one enjoys talking about, and you all know that I cannot come on without talking about my favorite B-letter word, which is budgeting. As we move to the next slide, please. You can't, or I want to make it plain, you cannot really save money if you don't know where your money is going. I hope we all agree. But let's be brutally honest here for a moment. Budgeting, it isn't fun. If I can say it in my Southern vernacular, it ain't fun, okay? So how can you draw up a household budget and keep it without cramping your style? Let's talk about it. While you can certainly go old school now and create a budget using pen and paper, you can go it that way. It's so much easier if you use secure online tools that require just a few simple keystrokes. There are websites, there are apps and programs that handle all the drudgery of budgeting for you. Now, many of those programs are free, and the ones that do charge, they only charge just a few bucks. And here's how they work. Next slide, please. Now, one of the most popular is called Mint. Although many banks and credit unions offer similar programs on their websites for their customers, but basically this is how it works. You just type in your income and expenses, and these programs, they do the math for you, and that's usually where we all kind of fail, is the math, right? You can even project your savings if you eat one less takeout dinner, or say if you refinance your mortgage. The software does all that heavy lifting for you. Now, if that's a little too techy for you, there's a middle step. Websites like Tiller, they let you download customized spreadsheets that stay on your computer, and you can easily personalize them. Those of you that are good with Excel, same thing. Each program has its pros now and its cons, but bottom line, they all work. So it's really up to what makes you feel the most comfortable. Gerald, why don't you, nope, I don't have anything for you, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Why don't you move to the next slide for me then? Thank you. Now, thankfully, computer technology can be used for more than just budgeting. You can save when you buy things. Now, before we share those tips, just a word of warning. Pause for the cause, okay? Use these shopping tools to buy only what you need, not to splurge. It makes absolutely no sense saving a few bucks on every purchase just to turn around and buy something frivolous. Agree? Agree. Okay, while I have your attention, we're moving on. Everyone knows that you can score great deals online rather than going to the store, okay? But not everyone knows about these comparison shopping tech tools listed there on your screen. These websites and apps and many others like them let you make a list of your desired items, then tell you when the best deal is being offered. One of the ones you see here or most of the ones you see here are actually pegged to Amazon. I mean, who doesn't love Amazon? But Baywatch monitors deals that you find on eBay, while the MAC index does the same thing for those Apple products. You can find these price monitoring programs everywhere, and you don't need to be tech savvy, thank the good Lord, to take advantage of them. Try one or more and see if you can save big. I love the comparison shopping tools. I invite you, okay, but you take that warning. I invite you to go ahead and just see how you like it. Now let's talk about saving while changing the way you do things, not what you actually do. Now, for us here at Coffee, that means credit cards. And why? Because more than 75% of American adults own at least one credit card, and the average American owns 3. Okay, so at least everybody has one. I know a few people that don't, but the average is 3 per person, per adult, okay? So if you can easily save on your credit cards, then you can make a real dent in your debt. And that means what? That means more towards savings. And here's how that is done. All told, those of us with credit cards, we're carrying balances of over $1 trillion, and we're paying for that privilege. While credit card interest rates fluctuate widely depending on the card and your circumstances, right now it's hovering still around 20%. We all know that means for every $5 you spend, you're being charged $1 in interest, okay? Now, if you could cut or even eliminate those interest payments, you have a lot more money to have in your pocket, and you wouldn't have to change a thing about how you live. I hope that makes sense. Next slide, please. So let's start with one of the easy ways to do that, okay? It's a certain kind of credit card, and it's called a balance transfer card. Now, these cards offer you a low interest rate, and in many cases, no interest rate at all. That sounds good. With one of these cards, more of your money goes to paying down your balances instead of lining the pockets of your credit card issuer. With credit card interest rates hovering around that 20% right now, that's a big savings for doing nothing different in your day. Sound too good to be true? There are some drawbacks that you need to watch out for when it comes to balance transfer cards. And I know I'm singing to the choir because we heard this before, but it bears repeating as we move on to the next slide. Specifically, there are 3 things to watch out for. First, most balance transfer cards charge a fee to move your balances from your other higher interest cards. That fee can total up to 5% of every dollar you transfer. While some companies charge less, a few don't charge anything, you still need to be on the lookout for this annoying fee, okay? Second, all balance transfer cards have what's called an expiration date, and it's usually at the end of 18 months, but can sometimes be for only 6 months. I've seen them for 24 months. But if you use that time to pay off your balance, you come out way ahead, because if you don't, please listen closely, the interest rate jumps. Yes, it does. And sometimes to higher than what you had on the original card whereby you transferred the balance. All right. Finally, if your credit score is under 670, you generally struggle to get approved. That's my nice way of saying that you most likely won't get approved. And that might be even truer these days with, how everything's going. Gerald, why don't you come on in and tell them a little bit about the credit union's balance transfer card.
Yes, touching on the balance transfers, we have a campaign that's currently running for the year 2023, our Visa balance transfer offer of 1.99% APR on balance transfers for this year. It would help you to pay off your existing credit card debt even faster, especially with rates hovering around 20%. Also, you can take advantage of our no balance transfer fee. We have no annual fees, and the online application is very quick. You can visit princegeorgescfcu.org/visa to learn more.
Thanks, Gerald. That's a very good offer. Very, very good. I'm going to have to talk to you about that. So next up, on the scale of difficulty or the scale of options for you is a debt consolidation loan. This is simply a personal loan you secure and then use to pay off all your credit card bills with those steep interest rates. The concept is the exact same as a balance transfer card. You're paying off the high interest rates with a lower one, okay? In this case, you might be able to get a personal loan of between 36 and 60 months, okay? So between 3 and 5 years from your credit union or other financial institution. The rate may be around 6%, maybe a little higher with the increase of interest rates. Then what you're going to do is use that money to pay off all your credit cards that are charging you that 20% or more. Then you simply make one monthly payment on that personal loan. Usually what happens is you get out of debt faster and you make a smaller monthly payment because of that lower interest, right? Which is the definition of a big win, a win-win-win situation. And you save money by literally doing nothing different except you just write a smaller check or you do have a smaller automated payment each month, okay? Sounds good as we move on to the next slide. So, of course, I always have to come around and tell you what could be the downside. Now, if you get a debt consolidation loan, you're looking at 3 to 5 years, as I forestated, to pay it all off. Now, in the meantime, good people, you need to be careful not to run up more debt, okay? That timeline is pretty close to a debt management program, which we'll talk about a little later in a few minutes. But in that case, you work with a credit counseling agency that can help keep you on the straight and narrow. Now, with a debt consolidation loan, listen, you're doing this all on your own. And that is, here I go, if you can even get the loan. Listen to this. If you have too much debt, it's a classic catch-22 because you need the loan, right, to pay off that high interest debt, but you have so much debt that no bank or credit union will give you the loan. My apologies for being downer Doris and Gerald. This is a very good place for you to jump in and save me. Thank you.
Yeah, so speaking on debt consolidation, we also have a campaign going on that's called Map Your Journey to Financial Freedom. This campaign is running until the end of March this year. It is a campaign that allows our members to inquire about things such as budgeting, debt management, credit management, asset protection. One of the key things that we want to focus on is the debt consolidation. And on the page, if you visit www.princegeorgescfcu.org/mapyourjourney. On that landing page, you'll find that there's a debt calculator. And this is one of our favorite things to use here. The debt calculator allows you to put in any amount of debt that you may have or may not have. You can adjust the interest rate. It can be a credit card, it can be an auto loan, and it simulates the product so that you could see how long it would take you to get out of debt with all those different variables going on. So it's a very useful tool if you want to map out your future and how long it would take you to pay something off. If you don't want to think too hard, it's a great tool to use. And again, that's on princegeorgescfcu.org/mapyourjourney. cfc.org/consolidation, the calculator itself, but the entire campaign is on Prince George's cfcu.org/mapyourjourney.
Prince George's CFCU has some great things for its members. Nobody's paying for that plug. It's very good to see a financial institution with such great programs to help its members. Okay, moving to the next slide. Let's talk for a moment about credit counseling. And I have to admit it, I'm biased, okay? I work at one of the nation's largest and oldest credit counseling agencies, so I naturally think that they're awesome, okay? The best of these nonprofit agencies will offer you a free debt analysis from a certified credit counselor, which describes your coffee coaches, okay? With one phone call, a counselor will review every dollar you spend and also every dollar you earn, by the way. They'll point you to a plain English educational resource that can help you save big bucks. Even better, they can give you a menu of debt busting options. Next slide, please. As we continue the discussion regarding credit counseling, let's review the only drawback, okay, that I know of when it comes for nonprofit credit counseling agencies, and that is this. Like everything else in the world, from doctors to diners, there are good ones and not so good ones. So how do you find the absolute best to assist you? There are 3 ways to figure that out in just a few minutes of internet searching. And let's talk about those as we move to the next slide, please. Now, first thing, you're going to go to the website for the Better Business Bureau and search the name of the credit counseling agency. If it doesn't have an A+ rating, just simply forget about it, okay? Secondly, read the agency's about page and see how long it's been around. The longer, the better, because that simply means that they know their stuff backwards and forward. And then thirdly, you're going to check out review sites that have excellent customer reviews for the agency. You know, we have all gotten accustomed to review sites by now. So you're going to try things like trustpilot.com and consumeraffairs.com to check out that credit counseling agency. Next slide, please. Let's talk about debt management programs. Now, one of the most powerful debt busting solutions is only available through a credit counseling agency, and it's called a debt management program, or for short, DMP. It might be able now to cut your payments up to 30, or in some cases, even 50%. A DMP also freezes late fees, and even better, you only make one payment per month for all the credit cards that are in the program, that you enroll in the program. Unfortunately, credit card companies won't let you sign up for a DMP on your own or by yourself. Next slide, please. To qualify for a DMP, you have to work through a credit counseling agency. And that's because the credit card companies trust these nonprofits to follow all the rules that they have established. After all, the credit card companies are willing, okay, to forego some of what you owe them to get back the rest. They don't surrender profits that easily. Luckily, when you work with a reputable credit counseling agency, they take care of all the paperwork for you. So in a way, even though I have it here as a con, this turns into a pro. Next slide, please. Let's start to wrap this up okay, with two tactics that require some of your time, but just once will it require some of your time. First, did you know that you can negotiate lower bills? You can negotiate on your own. It's true. For example, if you've had a credit card for many years and you've been a good customer, you can call the number on the back of that credit card and you can get some concessions just for the asking. For example, you might be able to shave down your interest rate if you mention another card has offered you a lesser interest rate. And you can also move your due date so it corresponds better with your paycheck so you never get caught short and need to float that balance a little longer, which runs the risk of a late charge. Same thing goes for your cable bill. If you still have cable, you can often get extra premium channels from your provider. Just by calling and asking. And if they're running a promotion and you didn't know about it, if you've been and this is the operative here, if you've been a good client or customer, you may be able to get some premium deals, channels, okay? You can even negotiate for a lower bill, often saving $5 or more per month. I mean, $5 is $5, right? The same tactic works for those complex mobile phone contracts. Call them, okay? These little savings, they can really add up, especially when you don't really have to do anything. We're on our phones all the time, right? So call them and see if you can get some sweet concessions. Next slide, please. Finally, let's end with the last place you might look for easy savings, and that is your workplace. Earlier, we mentioned direct deposit, but that's simply diverting your own money to where you won't easily see it. Now we're talking about your workplace giving you valuable services that can save you big. One of the most popular is a 401k, which helps you save for your retirement. I believe most of us are familiar with that. What's so good about a 401k? Many employers match a portion of your contribution to this retirement account. According to government research, the average is 4.3%. That means for every dollar you sock away for later, you get 43 cents. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but when you consider a savings account is paying less than 1% in interest, okay? That's suddenly a lot, right? Also, the IRS gives you some money too by not taxing what you contribute. Another big workplace benefit is called a health savings account, or HSA. It does the same thing by letting you set aside money for health care and having it be invisible to the IRS. It almost sounds illegal, doesn't it? We could spend another webinar talking about these lucrative benefits, but we suggest you chat it up with your HR department. Believe it or not, they want your employer, they want you to take their money. And you're like, okay, why? Because companies that offer benefits know their employees will appreciate them. They're more likely, okay, if they have a good benefit package, the employees are most likely to stick around and work a little harder. So let your bosses help you save. Come on. Now that ends my portion of the presentation. And Gerald, I am going to go ahead and hand it back over to you. And thank you to you all for the opportunity to share again this week. Gerald?
Thank you, Doris. Once again, thank you all for attending today's webinar. If you want to learn more about Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union, or if you want to speak to a member service representative, visit us at www.princegeorgescfcu.org or you can call 800-952-7428. I want to once again thank Ms. Doris Baker and Coffee for their continuous support. And we are inviting you to schedule your free 60-minute financial coaching session. And you can call that number at 866-459-5165. And with that, I'll open the floor for any other questions. You guys can use the Q&A box if you have any other questions. And if not, we'll be wrapping this session up. I'll give it a minute if you guys have any questions. I see, Carla, you put something in there earlier. Do you recall what I was saying when the mic got cut off? Okay, Lorraine I'm going to unmute your mic, Lorraine.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hey, Lorraine. Yes, I can hear you. How you doing?
Fine, and you? I've tried several times with credit cards to call and get a lower interest rate,
Mm-hmm.
and I have never, ever, ever been successful at it. So are there any other tips besides saying, another credit card has offered me something to try to get a lower interest rate?
Are you?
I would just, excuse me, Gerald, I'm sorry. I would just use the fact that I've been a client for however long. I would start giving myself pats on the back. I've been your client for XYZ length of time. I've never been late. What can you do for me?
Okay.
I would take that approach.
Okay. All right.
And especially they're a little bit more lenient since the pandemic. So if you haven't tried recently,
I have not.
Please try again. They've been a lot more lenient since 2020.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Mary Hawkins, I see your question. Yes, this session is being recorded live. So the recording will be available later on today, and along with the other recordings from the previous 2 weeks. And like I said, we'll upload this to our Vimeo channel, and then the link to that video will be on the Lunch and Learn redirect. So the same place you went to register for the webinar is where the recordings will be, the playbacks will be. Okay, no problem. And looks like that might be it for today. So once again, thank you, Doris.
You're very welcome.
Okay, and we'll see you all next week. If you plan to join us next week, we have one last webinar for the month of January. And with that, everyone, please have a great day and stay safe.
Bye-bye.